The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Martin Wishmayer from General Bytes.
Good evening, guys.
Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
All right.
Josh Shigala from the Standard.io.
Moin, moin.
Ben Ark from LN Bits.
And Nostar.com. Nostar and Nostar Riches.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one. Coinbase sues the SEC for answer on rule specific to digital assets. Last week, Coinbase was moving to Bermuda, and now they're not messing around, planning to sue the Securities and Exchange Commission, asking for clarity on digital assets. They've asked the SEC to respond to a petition that the company filed aiming for a rule specific to digital assets. Martin Wishmayer, what do you think about Coinbase's incredibly aggressive move to sue the United States government, demanding clear regulation?
Well, I don't think Coinbase is that aggressive. It's the SEC that has been really aggressive and hostile towards crypto in general, Bitcoin and crypto. And money flows where it's well treated. If it's not the US, it's Bermuda.
Dan Eve, I've seen other articles saying that crypto is dead in the US. Is Coinbase's suit part of that?
Oh, it's just I can understand why kind of Coinbase is doing it, but I kind of think they're almost forcing the SEC's hand at being more strict. Like, they're, because of the fact they're kind of counteroffensive is they need this. They want a decision, right? This is their business model. They can't operate and then turn around and have the SEC suddenly go out of the blue. Oh, actually, what you've been doing is illegal, and we're going to have to fine you and blah blah blah. So I can see why they're doing it, but at the same time, it's like it's poking the bear, right? It's like the SEC is a big angry bear that just wants to jump on people with lawsuits. But the Coinbase have got a point. Like they need clarity, and by not having clarity, it makes their whole business model, puts their whole business model at risk. So stoke the bear because we're in a bull market. Why not?
Joshua Shigala, we often talk about how a company like Coinbase will try to capture the market by establishing regulations that only they could fulfill. But now it seems they can't even get any credit for being the worm tooth to their Saruman. They can't even get any credit for toadying and serving the government.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that law works is when you have people pushing back against bad laws. Like because otherwise it becomes lawless in terms of the SEC just do whatever they want. If the SEC continue to do whatever they want, they really need to see the true meaning of crypto volatility, and that's Brian Armstrong being angry, and so I really think it's important that a big, well-funded, strong player can push back against nonsense bullying behavior, and I think I really I take my hat off to Brian for doing that. I think it's really good. I think it's needed. And I hope that out of this will come some sensible rules and some clarity, and that's all that Coinbase really want. The Coinbase keeps saying, we will play ball with whatever ball you throw. Just tell us what the ball looks like. That's all we want to know, and let's play.
I'm being told that it was Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings, Wormtongue and Saruman. Ben Ark, what do you think? Coinbase, the first to the market, can't get any love from the government, doesn't know what to do?
Strong in the arm, thick in the head, Brian. Go on, my son. Challenge them. Clearly, there's a bias there. And I think revealing that bias in the, within a lawful framework is a good idea. Like they've decided to move their operations abroad, and then they probably looked at the regulations and thought, well, in other industries, the regulations aren't as severe. And actually, we do have a strong legal case. So go on, Brian, give them what for.
Kill it with fire.
First, he was banging his shoes on the table, saying he was going to move to Bermuda. And the next thing you know, he's joining one of those polycules. They're all the rage these days. Moving on to the exit question, predicting the price of Bitcoin against the Bitcoin predictor ball, the source of all truth and knowledge in this universe. Martine Wishmayer, will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower this time next week?
I think higher. I think the bulls are almost out of the woods, and we are definitely going to see a higher price.
Dan Eve, are we out of the woods yet?
It's going.
Dan's bullish. That must be a counter indicator. Joshua Shigala, higher or lower?
We're going higher. I mean, it's negatively correlated to the banking crisis now that we're seeing all these more banks fail in the US. It's like literally you can look at the graphs. It's like one goes down, the other Bitcoin goes up.
So pain for bankers turns out to be good for Bitcoiners. Ben Ark, are you joining the Positivity Express here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like when people can't trust the banks so much, they start looking at alternatives like this wonderful free and open source technology we have, where you can easily off ramp your funds into Bitcoin, and then compare like with that as well. You've got all the Nostar stuff. Like there's so many eyes on the Nostar right now, and it has Bitcoin integrated into it in a way which is very
It's very
fluid, and it feels
awesome.
very natural, and it shows Bitcoin. People are zapping each other on Nostar, and it works out great. Yeah, it's very awesome. So the not only are people thinking about Bitcoin as the get out mechanism, but they're also seeing this great use case. And lots of people who aren't traditionally into Bitcoin are seeing Bitcoin being used a very interesting way, and then they'll think, well, I might as well buy myself some of that Bitcoin.
All right, a lot of pressure on the Magic 8 Ball with all this positivity around. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? It is certain. It is certain. The ball has spoken. Could not be any more clear to you. Moving on to issue 2. Bitcoin held on Binance surges to record high of 692,000 Bitcoin. The tally has increased by more than 50,000 Bitcoins in 4 weeks, reversing the exodus seen last year. Just last year, it seemed like people had caught on to Binance and were taking their money off the exchange, or just using it like an exchange, depositing your money, trading for something else, and then withdrawing your money, not using it like a bank, depositing more than 692,000 Bitcoin in Binance. Dan Eve, the question everyone wants to know, do you think Binance still has all those Bitcoin? If we tried to take them out all at once, you think they'd show up?
Oh man, it's tricky. I don't use Binance, but they seem to be an exchange that try and stay on the right side of transparency, and sometimes they've got the safe refund and things like that. But like, let's face it, which actual exchange does have all the collateral, right? That and have kept it and haven't sort of passed it on, bought into other tokens and leveraged it in some other way. I don't know how it's so difficult. Like the fact you just can't trust, and that's why we say don't trust, verify, and you can't verify like Binance. So just don't trust them. So by default, but if you have to, like, go on, put your coins on an exchange, do the transaction, whichever it is you need to do, and then pull them off, and then at least you're holding them and you're in control of your own destiny. But it does seem like this could be the reason why the amount of Bitcoin is being put back in the exchange is because people may be getting ready. They're twitchy about a sell-off or something. Maybe they think that 30K is the ceiling for this sort of little micro period. But it could also be a sign that a lot more people are literally getting into Bitcoin and buying it, right? And it's almost like the noobs don't know about the risks of putting their coins on exchanges, so they'll buy Bitcoin and then just hold it on Binance because like they think it's a safe place. Like, oh, I'm not too skilled in setting up these Trezors or ledgers or whatever, so I'd better just put it on Binance until I sort my private sort of hardware out. So it could just be a stopgap, but ultimately, you just can't keep your coins on exchanges, as FTX has shown us, and all these exchanges along the way that have gone down. So I still hope that Binance doesn't fall, because I think that even though Binance isn't Bitcoin, it will have a bigger impact on Bitcoin. But they could fall. So just always think about it as if you put your money in someone else's hands, it's easier for them to run off with it than it is for you to lose it yourself.
With no centralized location, you can trust an exchange like Binance. It's not like they're based in the Bahamas or Bermuda or anything like that. Joshua Shigala, what do you think about Binance? 50,000 new Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? I mean, I tend to go with the default of don't trust any exchange. Even Voltoro, we've run since 2015, never had a hack, but don't hold your Bitcoin on the exchange. Just put it on there if you need to do a trade, get it back off, put it on your Trezor. There's a lot of people that day trade, so they're doing that all the time. Maybe they need to hold their Bitcoin on an exchange because that's how they're doing their trades. But I'm hoping more and more DeFi just gets better and better, and we won't need centralized exchanges again anyway.
And Ark, you can trust Binance?
I think Josh is right there. I mean, like the technology for being able to take your money out of the legacy banking infrastructure, because this is really where I think a lot of this interest is coming from, that people just don't trust banks, and they want to opt out into something like Bitcoin, and of course they buy it on an exchange, and then they don't then take that extra step where they then take the coins off and then put them on their own hardware wallet, because maybe they're worried about it. I remember back in the day on I think maybe on local Bitcoins and on our UK version, Bitbargain, which is a popular platform back in the day in the UK, you would have an admin come in if people bought a certain amount, and they would say, have you got a Trezor, or have you got a hardware wallet? And then they would talk you through, like, owning your own funds and then taking control of your own funds. And I think that really these exchanges, they have a responsibility when people first start buying up Bitcoin, to teach them and maybe to have some links on how to secure their own funds on their platforms. That would be the first step. And then ultimately, yeah, absolutely, like if we have these decentralized exchanges and better DeFi, more hardened DeFi solutions which can compete with traditional exchanges, I think that's the ultimate sweet spot. But yeah, this all goes down to just people. They don't trust banks. They trust Binance more than banks. They want to buy some Bitcoin. But I think Binance does have a responsibility to teach people to secure their own keys.
Can I just add, Lightning Network is really a really good thing about for this, because it allows people to instantly grab a trade off an order book without even trusting the exchange. Like, you could set up the exchange in a way that you could allow people to send a Lightning Network transaction, and it will instantly go in at that order at that price and capture the order. And then even if it's trading to some of the shitcoin, you maybe keep it on there or whatever, or if it's trading into fiat, but then you could then trade it back to Lightning and back out. And so the cheaper the transactions are and faster, the more people will be willing to not keep their funds on exchange, but still have that liquidity in and out.
Maybe, I mean, like, because there's some great, Bolts is a great solution for being able to loop out to on-chain, which we have an extension for in a little bit, by the way. But there's some great solutions now for, maybe your risk profile on an exchange is just a couple $100, and that's a Lightning. And that's Satoshi's dream. Satoshi's dream with a payment channel was that you could do high frequency trading quickly onto an exchange, and then the idea would be that then you could loop out onto on-chain. So maybe more of these services providing easy ways to loop out to on-chain to your own keys is the answer. But yeah, Lightning Network is a very key part of the puzzle of having better DeFi and decentralized exchanges.
Yeah.
Just like many startups are measured by the number of users, these exchanges are measured by the dollar amount of deposits. So it's kind of against their interest to tell people to take it off with a Trezor and a Ledger, not to mention the great fear of someone screwing it up and finding a way to sue you because you recommended that they buy a Trezor or a Ledger. Martine Wishmayer, what do you think about Binance and their sudden new riches?
I think it's shocking. My first reaction was, do people never ever learn? I mean, we've been saying not your keys, not your coins for the past 10 years, and people still, they're still not listening. So, maybe they deserve to lose their coins at such an exchange. I mean, it's not really an exchange. Yeah, it is an exchange, but it's more like a shitcoin casino. And especially as Dan already mentioned, I mean, where are they located? And you mentioned like people might sue the exchange. What's there to get if they have been hacked and there's nothing there? I mean, it's just irresponsible. It's not what Bitcoin is all about. And it's probably, I don't know what the reason is. It's probably some dodgy earn program where they promise you Satoshis if you deposit Bitcoins. I mean, it's like not even worth the risk in most cases. So the people just buy yourself a ledger. If you're too cheap to buy a ledger, I mean, just think about how much did your girlfriend or your wife pay for their last purse, and how much does a ledger cost? It's not that expensive. It's probably a tenth of the price of her purse. So, buy yourself a ledger or a Trezor or even one of those crappy CoinKite products. But it just don't leave it on an exchange. I mean, how many times do we have to take it?
Gloves are on.
What do you mean?
Poor cold
Crappy
card.
Coinkite.
Oh, I think they're horrible, but that's a different story. But no, it's ugh. Like, don't leave your coins on an exchange. It's just really bad idea. It's just bad OPSEC. It's just like, really, why? And yeah, maybe if you're day trading, but then then it's a hopeless case anyway. People who day trade is like, they don't understand the whole idea behind Bitcoin. You buy it and you hold it. You don't start trading on emotions, because that's the best way to lose your money. So don't do that. Take it off an exchange and do it now.
This technology is like very useful for gamblers, though, isn't it? Who want to day trade, and I think that's why it encourages these day. But it is gambling. Anyone who out there who thinks they're a day trader, you're just gambling. Just go put bets on the horses.
It is gambling. And it's also in the exchange's interest. The exchange's interest is not to have you buy Bitcoin and then hold it. No, that's like, this Crypto.com and Binance and all the other exchanges. Their interest, they make money on the fees on every transaction. So it is in their interest to make you buy and sell as many times as possible, because that in the end is their revenue model. So they want you to keep trading for whatever shitty meme coin is the flavor of the day, or back into Bitcoin, or back into whatever staking product. This is not in the interest of the end user, us. We need to just buy and hold, but the exchange wants you to buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. And they don't care whether you lose money, because every time you buy or you sell, they make money. And this is their business model. So they'll never try to convince you to take it off an exchange, because that would mean you're not buying Shiba Inu today. I mean, this is their business model. They need you to buy as many shit coins as possible, then realize that you bet on the wrong horse and change it all back. And in the meantime, they make money every time you switch the coins.
And at the end of the day, folks, if you're going to trade, do it with 200x leverage, for goodness sake. Put your balls on the table.
Yes,
this is not financial advice.
The profit doubler.
I agree with Martine. It's much like the casinos where you look around it. It's a really nice building, and you look at crypto.com, they're sponsoring the Lakers arena. Coinbase is sponsoring the basketball hoops in every single NBA game. And you're like, these guys must be going broke. Like, they're making nothing off fees. Like, they're pulling in nothing here. I'm the winner. You look at the roulette wheel and all the fancy people working there, and you're like, these people are running out of money like crazy. I'm going to go home with all their money tonight. So
I would like to put a caveat in there that actually our good friend Josh Voltoro here of Voltoro, the Voltoro exchange, is a different type of exchange, because in that you are switching from gold to Bitcoin. So it's less, the time preference is different to the shitcoin casino. So there are some exchanges.
It really is down to our detriment, because people buy gold and they hold it for years and they never trade again. I'm like,
just get the shitcoins on that one.
Come on, trade, everyone, trade. No, it is what it is. But the good thing is gold is insured, and that was the main thing. Is, you know, the FDIC is insured to 250K. Gold, hey, you can insure for however much you've got in there. So it's fantastic like that. It's real difference.
And they're still working on the refund for the Mt. Gox bankruptcy. Any day now. Any day now.
Any day, any day.
All right, moving on to the exit question. Is Binance going to run into regulatory trouble within 6 months, 2 years, or never? Dan Eve.
2 years. I think if they're closing in on Coinbase, then they're going to have to. They will be closing in on Binance. It's only a matter of time, right?
Joshua Shigala. Some have compared Cheng Xing Zhaopao to Dr. Evil. Will he get away with it?
Well, I mean, Binance has been effectively and actually a good player in this space, you know, for a long time. They haven't been a bad actor yet. That's not to say that they won't, but yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
That's the beauty about being a secret villain. No one knows that you're a villain until it's too late.
Yeah, BTCE was a good actor for a long time until they just disappeared, you know. So
Crypto used to sponsor parks. They used to give money to children. Ben Ark, do you have a Binance 6 months, 2 years, never? Are they going to get in trouble?
I don't think they're going to get in trouble. I actually think they'll probably pioneer some better legislation by challenging the regulators. I think it's a healthy kickback against the regulators. And I do think there is bias there. So I think they've probably got a very strong case. And I hope that they don't go down, because obviously people will lose money. But that has been, you know, the behavior of almost all exchanges in Bitcoin. Apart from Voltoro, of course, but that's a different type of exchange. But yeah, no, that has been the pattern of behavior with most exchanges is they go bankrupt or they rug pull or whatever else, they go bust. But hopefully before that happens, they will reform some of the regulations or make the regulations clear in the US, so other platforms can operate there easier. You know?
Martine Wishmayer, are we dealing with the real Dread Pirate Roberts?
Yeah. You know, it's pretty hard to come after Binance because they're nowhere, and at the same time they're everywhere. So my bet would be that they'll probably fold before the regulators catch on to them. And that's not because I expect them to fold. I hope they will never do that. But the regulators are generally quite slow. So especially if it's like cross-border, they're not really, they're a bit powerless in a way.
Spoiler for the future, CZ will build a hovercraft, keeping Binance free from any jurisdictional rules. And if that fails, Binance in space. Check out madbitcoins.com, where we just did the 10th anniversary of Mad Bitcoins. It was simulcast on the World Crypto Network. Learn more about the history of Mad Bitcoins, where there's 726 videos to watch at madbitcoins.com. Issue 3, Hamas armed wing announces suspension of Bitcoin fundraising. Yes, we all say a sad note as Hamas is no longer accepting Bitcoin for fundraising. Cross it off your list. Hamas says that too many of their donors are being threatened or face trouble for donating to the alleged terrorist group. Joshua Shigala, what do you think about Hamas no longer accepting Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when when Satoshi was still around, and WikiLeaks wanted to accept Bitcoin, and Satoshi was like, don't, it's too early, it'll grab too many eyeballs, you know. And yeah, this sort of reminds me of that. But hey, yeah, I mean, it's I just think all politicians need to stop accepting any sort of money. So whether you're an armed politician or not an armed politician, I don't know. You're all a bunch of scumbags.
I just think they make such a big deal when a terrorist group starts accepting Bitcoin. They should make just as big a deal if a group stops accepting Bitcoin. Although in many ways, this is kind of an indictment of the failure of Bitcoin privacy. If people who are donating to this are being harassed by their government, even if we agree with the government or we disagree with the terrorist group or alleged terrorist group. Ben Ark, what do you think about Hamas no longer in the Bitcoin business?
It should work. This is exactly what you say, Thomas. Right there. There's a problem with Bitcoin privacy. We need more privacy on Bitcoin's not finished. It's not a finished project. We need more privacy on chain. We need zero knowledge transactions on chain as de facto, not like a choice. Because if you launder money through a whirlpool or whatever, then you made a choice there, and then people say, well, why have you done that? And we need more privacy on chain, and if it's obviously it's not great that a terrorist organization is using Bitcoin, but they're like the fringe use cases where it should work for them as a technology. They should be able to do private transactions. Actually, there's been a bigger Monero uptick in adoption based on this in the dark market scene. I know there's a lot of people have been talking about only accepting Monero and not accepting Bitcoin at all because of the chain analysis, the chain snitching. So yeah, we need to not think that Bitcoin is perfect. That's a misnomer. That's a red herring. That's a dangerous path to go down. It's not perfect. It's a technology which still needs to be worked on. And one of them, in order for it to be fungible, in order to be actual proper, like private money, we need zero knowledge on the base layer, and that's something we need to work towards. And then hopefully, Hamas can use it for.
Previously, Bitcoin was optimized for scaling for large terrorist groups. It turns out Bitcoin needs to also be optimized for privacy for more dangerous terrorist groups or more wanted groups, as a joke would say. Martin Wishmer, what do you think about Hamas? They no longer want Bitcoin. If you
I
send
think it is,
it,
Thomas, this was such a bullshit article, really. If you read about it, and it's like just totally going on the sensational side of things. Hamas, like in a month time, got less than $3,300 worth of donation. I mean, you can't even buy a single Javelin rocket for that money. So what kind of terrorist organization is that if they have like zero money coming in? And, the article said they switched onto a sort of like advanced way of accepting Bitcoin. You know what? They just created a new address for every donation, like your Trezor hardware wallet. I mean, it's not that it's not been around for 10 years or so, or it's just ridiculous the way they wrote it. It's just makes no sense. I mean, they could accept Lightning if they wanted to. Not like suggesting anything. I think they should just like fuck off, really, and just not accept Bitcoin, because we don't want them here. Just like Josh said, we don't want any politicians using Bitcoin. Bitcoin has no political agenda, so don't abuse Bitcoin. But it's their transaction, not my transaction, so I can't do anything about it, which is a good thing, by the way, because that's what makes Bitcoin Bitcoin. Your keys, your money, you can spend it wherever you want. But I think Hamas just made a big mistake by just accepting on-chain transactions, while they should have done Lightning transactions instead. And okay, they might have missed the press release moment. They got it Reuters today, but the article is just bullshit. And if you just look carefully, in $3,300, I mean, that's where I stopped reading. I think, well, what can you buy for $3,300? It's like 2 DJI Mavic drones, maybe. And then what? You still have to strap a grenade onto it. I mean, it's not really going to do much, is it? So no. Reuters, bad article, bad article.
It's another clear problem with Bitcoin privacy. Everyone can see your wallet, so that a respectable group like Hamas would get dragged through the mud for only raising $3,300. What a pathetic and poor outfit there. How awful. Dan, Eve, I still think it's good news they're not taking Bitcoin. This is like, we used to have all the restaurants. We'd be like, this restaurant takes it, that restaurant. Now we're like, we're going backwards, and it's in the right direction for once, huh?
Well, I think this is kind of a good article because it flies in the face of the other accusations out there that Bitcoin's so private it's perfect for terrorists to use, because now this is flying in the face of that, right? It's not the reason. It's a public ledger, right? This is the hardest thing to get into people's minds. You can literally see every transaction on it, so it makes it quite easy to trace things. And as Ben's saying, it needs to be more private. Yeah, so I think it's a bit of a lousy article, but it's good that it kind of shows that, number one, like, terrorists are moving away from Bitcoin. Like, that's kind of a supposed accused terrorists or whatever are moving away from Bitcoin, so that's a positive thing. Also, that it shows that it can't be used so easily for nefarious reasons because of the fact that it's traceable. So if supposed terrorists moving away from it, then I think that's good for the ecosystem. And ultimately, I'm with Josh that but why I still don't understand this. Like, why do people, like, why are politicians allowed to just take swathes of money? It's just an insane concept, because that means that the money is making their decisions, not like the policies and the people and the requirements of the nation that are actually making their decisions. I think that's just an insane thing. And you think about how much money is spent on elections each year in each country, and where that money could actually, how much good that money could actually do. Like, it just blows my mind. In the US, it's probably in the billions. I'm not sure what it is in the UK, but it's just a sad thing. So ultimately, very good thing that it shows that Bitcoin isn't something that can so easily be used for nefarious purposes. So I think overall, weird article, but actually quite good. And $3,500, that must have literally just paid for their I don't know, their scones and drinks, right, at the at the local
poverty-stricken assholes they are,
That's sandwich money. You can't even feed people pizza with that kind of money. For the exit question, I think we're all talking about how Bitcoin is far too transparent. What are some of the problems with this transparency that people might not have thought about? Like, for example, yesterday on the show, I was watching one of the old transactions on Listen to Bitcoin, and it was 4,795 Bitcoin that was sent from one wallet to another. And I'm betting there's only a handful of transactions that large, especially with that specific number, on the whole blockchain. You could probably find out the exact day that I was listening to Bitcoin. In the same way, Bitcoin and all these accounts, if you accidentally link them together, there's just so many mistakes people could make. Let's go to Joshua Shigala. What do you think? What's wrong with Bitcoin privacy? Why should they fix it next?
Well, it's very, very important to have privacy. Not if you're doing nefarious things, it's just a normal, obvious thing. And we've talked about this many a time, but if you run a business, you don't want every customer to know where you're getting your stock from, and you don't want to know how much your markup is. They'll just cut you out of the picture and you're done. It's just ridiculous to try to run any business without that sort of privacy. So it's definitely needed. And in a way, Lightning Network, and maybe Ben can enlighten me a bit on this, but in a way, from what I can see, Lightning Network it adds a layer of privacy, because there is so much, there is a type of mixing involved through the routing system. And you could even add like pauses to sort of stifle people trying to trace you as well. So, layer twos get you a little bit along the way to adding a little bit more fungibility to the network.
Ben, ARC, privacy for business. What else?
Yeah, I mean, so like historically, any money which is good is fungible, and then you can't have, like, when people mix their coins, like they're worth less than unmixed coins because they're harder to use in the real world context. Like, you need fungibility in order for money to work on. And if we're using Bitcoin on chain, then ideally you have zero knowledge. You don't, like cash, like this is why Hamas are probably just using cash rather than Bitcoin, because it's if people donate to Hamas, then it's harder for those people. There's no chain analysis for cash. There's just good old fashioned police work, which is much harder for bags of cash than it is for Bitcoin. But yeah, with Lightning Network, there is more privacy in that the payments are routed through the network, and then they're Tor encrypted, and then you don't really, there is kind of zero knowledge. Like, you don't really know, there's no real proof where the funds came from. The biggest issue with Lightning Network is the setting up of channels and the closing of channels, but I think a lot of that gets solved with Taproot, where you can hide. So setting up a channel and closing a channel looks like a regular normal Bitcoin on-chain transaction. But I do think that we still just need privacy on-chain, because the one of the main industries in Bitcoin where people actually make money is by mixing coins. And the reason they're mixing coins, the majority of them, like 2% of them will be someone who's listened to a Matt Adele podcast and thought, oh, I'll mix my coins because, it'll help the privacy of the network. And then the other 98% of them are people who are money laundering, and they're mixing their coins for nefarious reasons. And then all it takes is for people to say, well, if these coins don't have like a history, then they're worth less than the coins which have a history. And then those coins are fungible. And then it's not a money which will work. So personally, I think that we need greater privacy on chain. And I would prefer that over being able to verify how many coins are in the Bitcoin ecosystem. But I know it's quite a controversial stance. Maybe, this is a new thing in history which hasn't existed before, where we have this verifiable on-chain amount of coins which are out there. And then through the Lightning Network and through micropayments and things, that's where we get our fungibility. And then we've just got to just obfuscate and hide those on-chain transactions which open and close channels. Maybe that's how Bitcoin will evolve. But personally, I would like to see more privacy.
I've always felt that way about coin mixers. I'll trade you my coins used in a robbery for your coins used in a murder. And I think they should have changed the article. It should have said, Hamas doesn't accept Bitcoin anymore, but they still accept USD.
Yeah.
Martine Wishbear. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, having worked in crypto companies for a number of years now as well, especially on Ethereum. What's interesting is that there's so many companies that don't have an address per customer. So they literally, their invoice address for Ethereum, you can see all the other clients literally paying in to this one address, and you're like, this is insane. Don't you know how the blockchain works? You can see who their customers are, what they're paying compared to you. Blimey, people really don't really think about the traceability of blockchains. It's quite incredible.
But then that could be that they don't want to put themselves in trouble. So I kind of think this with the eCash, the Chormy and stuff, which is quite popular in Bitcoin now. And people are like, well, we'll have this third layer where we do Chormy and eCash. But then if it's a choice, where you're trying to have custodial models which are blinded, so you don't know what your users are using their funds for. If it's a choice, then the question would be from your regulatory government. They'll be like, well, why did you choose as a custodian for your customers to be able to blind how they transact? Why didn't you have? So I almost feel like that maybe they intentionally use the same address because it's easy just for accounting, and they don't want to be put in a position where any regulator would say, well, why are you trying to hide where these funds have come from? And I almost feel like that shouldn't be a choice. It should just be, you should have to go out of your way to make it an obvious where those funds have come from, as opposed to go out of your way to try and hide those funds. It should be the other way around.
Ben, if everything goes onto one pile at one of those companies, that's not good. It needs a separation of user counts. So you can't just throw it on one pile. That's just wrong, also from an accounting perspective. If you go to a proper exchange, you'll get your own IBAN number where you can transfer your own funds. And at least there is some separation. If you throw everything on one pile, it becomes like, well, FTX, you know, where everything was on one pile. And you know, in a way, yes, we would need privacy or whatever in Bitcoin on the layer or on the like the blockchain itself, but that would require hey, where is my focus gone? That would require a bit of a fork, I would imagine. So I don't think it is easy to ever have another Bitcoin fork again, because it's hard to get everybody looking in the same direction. We've seen this in the past, and I think the more the network matures, the harder it will be to make those changes. On the other hand, Lightning, I mean, Josh says, well, there's no chain analysis for cash, but there is also no chain analysis for Lightning because there is none. It's not broadcasted on chain. So where do you get your information from? The only way they could get information is by running almost all of the routing nodes or something, or how I don't know what the name is, but you know, that they would route all the transactions, which they don't, and they will never do that because that makes them part of the transaction. So they're actually part of the problem in that case. So I think Lightning is good if people want Lightning a security or privacy on Bitcoin. Use Lightning. I mean, Kraken exchange, you can just deposit it. It's super fast, and sometimes it fails. I mean, you send 1 million sets and then it just bombs out. So but you split it up in two 500,000 sats transactions, and then it will go through. So there's yeah, I think this is a good use case for Lightning, even though it's never marketed as such. It is bringing privacy to Bitcoin, and I think this is really good, because if it would just be a privacy feature, then all the regulators would be on it like, you dirty Lightning user, you. And now it's like, no, we just want to have low fees and fast transactions. Well, there's nothing wrong with low fees and fast transactions. It's like, oh yes, sorry, it's a bit of a privacy thing, but you know, that was not my intention. I'm just there for the fast transactions. So that it gives it a plausible deniability. I think Lightning rocks in that respect. I think also the marketing around it was always focused not on the privacy part, but on the accessibility and fast transactions, and like, you know, like lower fees and small micropayments. Well, it was designed to do, and that's all good. And nobody ever mentions that there is no chain analysis niche for Lightning, and there is no cipher trace for Lightning. It's just not there, and that's really good, because it's also good from an exchange viewpoint. It saves you all those expensive API calls to those you know, regulatory required the like information databases that they're basically just grabbing all the transactions. They just want to know all the transactions, and with Lightning that's just not possible. Sorry, features not working. No, Lightning is the future.
That's a very good point. I think there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot there. Yeah, I think you're right.
Dan, Eve, if you have nothing to hide, why do you need this privacy? Why not just use Bitcoin the way the government originally designed it?
Well, I mean, again, people do say that, right? But then why are our wages hidden from the person next to you? I mean, I think there's a few countries where they're not, but like, why aren't your bank transactions public, right? Why can't I just go on Amex and search for everyone's, like, it's an insane concept that people's, you know, don't have any privacy at all. Like, it's human nature, right? Why doesn't the government mandate all houses to be made of glass so that people can you know, can look in on you, and what, because you don't need privacy, because you could be doing something bad in there. I mean, where you could just keep on extending that argument out to everything. So I think it's a terrible argument ultimately, of like, oh, you only need privacy if you're doing something bad, because you could just apply that argument to everywhere, like, and yeah, I mean, you know, like, that's just it, right? Like, why don't you have see-through toilet cubicles? Because someone could be doing something nefarious in there, so we should be able to see you having a shit, just in case you're doing something naughty. Like, anywhere, like, where there's any form of privacy that you have the right for, should be taken away if the argument is we shouldn't need privacy everywhere. And financial transactions are exactly the same thing, especially because it means you can be targeted if you're like, especially if you own a lot of Bitcoin, and people like know your wealth. That's why a lot of rich people hide their wealth, right? Like not just from a perspective of trying to like be nefarious, but because they don't want to get carjacked on the way home and then put a gun put to their head. So yeah, no, we need privacy. It is a human right. Privacy is a human right. Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why governments aren't using aren't warming to Bitcoin so much is because of the fact that it's a public ledger, because of the fact that that funds could be traced if they're used by the FBI to do something crazy, right? You can trace those funds just like you can trace them for Hamas. You could trace them for an exchange that's gone haywire, and that's I don't know, all part of the fun, right? We need privacy.
People without anything to hide often have nothing to tell either. So I generally steer away from those crowds. But regarding your no privacy on the toilets, there's a South Park episode about that called the TSA, the Toilet Seat Administration, and they inspect. But it's there's South Park, they predict the future in a way. But yeah, my opinion is that like people without anything to hide have nothing to tell. So I'm like not interested.
Excuse me, sir. I need to check your asshole, sir. I need to check your asshole.
That's the one. Yeah, it's really good.
Oh
episode.
my god! Like,
and everybody's
ticket
checking
for not wearing.
other.
Ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. Oh, that's brilliant, isn't it?
Well, there's always something to look forward to in the future. But yes, it can be very dangerous. People don't think about things like linking your accounts together. Maybe you don't want your religious group to know what you're buying at the sex shop or something like that. There's a lot of things that people don't think about that could become obvious and immediate problems to them if suddenly all their accounts were scrolling. And as Dan was describing the bank, I was thinking about a fun screen where you put your card in, it would have a huge letters like how much money you have in your account, like little bells would go off and everyone in the bank would clap and then they'd rob you on the way out and stomp you or something. So yes, there is a reason for financial privacy, I think.
No, an ATM with a huge screen when you're putting in your number, everything just pops up above there so that anyone can just rob you at any time. Don't worry, it's totally fine. You got nothing to hide.
Congratulations, Joe Bloggs.
No, stupid thing, and I just don't understand how people just say the dumbest crap. And
it would be like a slot machine with a big wheel of fortune on the top too. I'm totally picturing it. We're running out of time. We got to move on to the next issue. Moving on to issue 4. John Oliver joins the inverse Jim Cramer craze, saying that you'd live 50 years if Cramer predicted you'd die tomorrow. Cramer has predicted the bottom of many stocks. He predicted Bear Stearns would be a fine investment and stay in business. They went off the drop. He predicted Facebook would be okay through all the metaverse drama. They went straight off. And of course, he predicted recently that Bitcoin would die, and Bitcoin went straight up. What about Mad Money host Jim Cramer and his incredible ability to be wrong? Ben Ark.
I know so little about this Jim Cramer guy, but I would say that never bet against Bitcoin. Never say that Bitcoin's going to die, because you're going to be disproved like in 6 months. It's just such a people have learned not to do that, because just go look at Bitcoin obituaries. There's a website, and it's got all the times in which people have said Bitcoin's going to die.
They're still right.
And it's and then it's disproved within like 6 months. So that's just bad PR. He's getting some bad social media advice from his social media gurus or whatever for putting that out there. But I don't know who this dude is, but he's just in a long line of people, naysayers, who look at Bitcoin as, I don't know, they look at it for through some ideological lens, where they're like, okay, it's this new hacker internet money, whatever, and it's just going to fail, and because it's not blah 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 blah. And rather than actually looking at the technology and the decades and decades of hard work which eventually made us arrive at this incredible technology, and why it's so incredibly powerful, and why we're interested in it, why we are all interested in it. and then they just make these split hair decisions and these comments on social media, and then they just buy them in the ass like 6 months later. So yeah, he's just in one in a long line of naysayers who've been proven wrong. Whoever.
Well, as an American, I think the most important thing I could tell you about Jim Cramer, he has a cable show on the financial channel, like CNBC or one of those things, and he mainly just
he's the shouty guy. Is he the shouty guy?
The shouty guy.
Ah, I know that guy.
I got a whole act I'm going to do here where, so he predicts the stock and be like, such and such a stock, they're going down. And then he has all these buttons. And he pushes all these buttons. He's like, you won't believe it. And what's hilarious is like people apparently are buying on this information. They're buying and selling based upon like, this stock, Bear Stearns. So it's pretty much like that all the time. So you have to check out.
That's basically what I remember it being like. So you could do that job.
I'm ready for it. I mean, if they want to fire him, I'll slot right in there, tell people what to buy. Martin, what do you think? He predicted Bear Stearns would be fine. He said Bitcoin's going down, and he's always very sure of himself. And like Ben says, he's always shouting. I don't want to replicate, but yeah.
I don't know any of those guys, and I usually stay away from those Bitcoin fortune tellers. I mean, it's just pointless. Nobody can predict how it works, and even those dude with their technical analysis, it's wrong. You can't predict the future based on the past, and even some people might be trading on that, and they might use their like moving averages and stuff. I think it's all bullshit, and the only real predictor of the price is the Bitcoin ball we have on this show. I mean, if you're really looking for sound investment advice, follow what the ball says, and you'll be like, you'll be driving that Lambo pretty soon.
Dan, Eve, what do you think? Price up, price down?
He reminds me of like the financial version of like the sports radio DJ guy from Fraser Crane with like all the sound effects and like the elaborate kind of things. But like I can't really talk much because I seem to be a bit of an anti-indicator as well. I'm probably like wrong about the price direction about like, I don't know, like 85, 90 like times out of 100. So yeah, if you trade against me, and you'll probably make a lot of money, that's for sure. But I think he's like more of a sensationalist kind of thing. It's almost like it's not like a real show. It's more, I can imagine there's dare I say it, some probably I don't know if I can get sued or whatever, but there's probably a few backhanders going on, right? Like there's some he knows that he can kind of try and move markets, and there's probably some fiddling going on at that level. Like that wouldn't surprise me at all. Probably, possibly, I don't know. Not saying there is, not saying there isn't, not saying I'm the Schrodinger's theory, the Schrodinger's guess. He does seem to have some bad examples under his wing, like praising Sam Bankman-Fried, and then like I don't know. That's what makes me think there's backhanders behind it, right? Like, because that's the way the markets move, right? You get someone who's in a big position, who's got quite a following. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So whilst he might have an impact on the market initially going in the direction in which he's saying, overall the markets will even out and prove them wrong in the end.
Well, back in the day with the radio stations, they had this thing called payola, where they would pay the station to play the song. I wouldn't imagine it's too different with these CNBC stations, allegedly, but perhaps just, look at the stock, stock, and evaluate it, and they choose, the evaluations of sponsors. Who knows? We have no inside information if that's happening or not happening.
Glorified, it's probably just another game of glorified crypto influencers, ultimately, right? Like, all of the news coming out that of people that took shield posts, back in well, I say in the day, they're still doing it now, right? It's probably the same thing happening, except there's probably, I don't know, it's just more in your face, right?
Joshua, what do you think about Mad Money?
Yeah, I've thought about it quite often actually, because he has got such a massive run of totally wrong bets, and it's extraordinary. But when thinking about it, it might be because he's the actual output to what in mainstream media, right? So as soon as it comes out of his lips, mainstream is doing something, and so you have very clever bots and stuff that understand that and will play that market against him. So I don't know if he's some oracle or if he's the reason, because as soon as he says something, people pretty much know what the market's going to do. So you can either like leverage it in one way or the other, or, you know, take it for your advantage if you're clever, if you're just better at it than everybody else. Because most people that watch that guy are literally NPCs that don't really have an idea of what they do. Oh, the guy said boom, and they sort of do it, right? So it's, yeah, I think that's probably what's going on there.
An audience is still an audience, right? Even if you have a large audience of NPCs. We have a special bonus. I've been able to locate a video of Jim Cramer. This is called Rage, Rage, Rage. It was cut on the internet. Check this out.
Alan Greenspan told everyone to take a teaser rate and then raise the rate 17 times. And Bernanke is being an academic. It is no time to be an academic. It is time to get on the Bear Stearns call. Listen, open the darn Fed window. He has no idea how bad it is out there. He has no idea. He has no idea.
Cramer.
I have talked to the heads of almost every single one of these firms in the last 72 hours, and he has no idea what it's like out there. None! And Bill Poole has no idea what it's like out there. My people have been in this game for 25 years, and they are losing their jobs, and these firms are going to go out of business, and he's nuts! They're nuts! They know nothing!
Cramer.
I have not seen it like this since I went 5 bid for 500,000 shares of Citigroup when I got hit in 1990. This is a different kind of market, and the Fed is asleep.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Bill Poole is a shame. He's shameful.
Hold on. I know
he
you're
ought to go and read the
hold
accredited home document. At least I read the darn thing.
Hold on. I know you're passionate, and I hear you, but at the same time, a lot of people are saying this is, yes, there's certain types of mortgages that aren't available.
Association of Broadcasters. Against all of them? Me. I am not letting up on this issue. Not until the merger's done and the consumers and stockholders get what they want. And I'll do better than Billy did in The Predator. I'll be more like Arnold. The a la carte packages are really cheap. There's a la carte 1. It starts at $6.99 a month. You get 50 non-premium channels from either service, saving people $6 from what they get now if they want this package, which means this deal is pro-consumer. It will save people money. A la carte 2 starts at $14.99 a month. You get both XM and Sirius. You get Major League Baseball and NFL, which is what I care about other than Howard Stern. You effectively save $11. You should probably know what you're talking about. You should know what you're blocking. Then there's the idea that satellite TV and satellite radio are similar. And since Dish and EchoStar, when Wade tried to merge and the deal was blocked, Sirius and XM shouldn't be able to merge either. Let's go back to the tape.
All right, so that
yikes, man. The Americans, man.
Like a shopping channel, like guy, isn't he?
He's like the normie version of Max Kaiser. Like
It's so I can't listen to this guy. No wonder I don't know him. I mean, like, you know, it's so tiring. I'm like, oh, why is he making such a big fuss out of all this nonsense?
Americans
really?
love to shout at you on TV.
Yeah, there's definitely a thing of shouting Americans on TV. The news is the same. Like they talk at you. They're like,
I would like
where they're
zap
just presenting
channels
facts.
immediately. It would be totally. I wouldn't give it 10 seconds, and I would be on to the next channel.
And you would
maybe
have saved yourself a whole lot of money.
and a headache.
I hate to say it, but surely, like, you want to take investment advice from someone who's a bit more kind of boring and structured than like crazy shouting guy with mad on the screen, like mad investment, yeah. Well, in fact, as other than mad Bitcoins who told you to buy Bitcoin, like, which is a completely different story.
Well, if this Jim Cramer guy had done that when my Bitcoin said, then his portfolio would be, I mean, he would have hit record highs.
I think that's a good segue because it is the 10th anniversary here of Mad Bitcoin. So we have another special video for you coming up next. Now, Alan Greenspan told everyone to take a teaser and that it had no intrinsic value, and then Bitcoin breaks its all-time high, even past the one set by Mt. Gox and the Willy bots. And I can tell you, it is no time to be an academic. Get on the Bitcoin call. Listen, open the darn window. There's no time for education and scholarship or teachers and institutes. It is time to get on the Bitcoin call. Listen now. Open the door to Bitcoin. You have no idea how good it is out there. No idea. He has no idea. Maddie. I talked to the heads of every single one of these firms in the last 72 hours, and you have no idea how good it is out there. He has no idea. He has no idea. None. Daffy Duck has no idea. Donald Duck has no idea. We all stand with Scrooge. I read The Christmas Carol and I thought he was shrewd. I had no interest in the moral. Bob Cratchit who? My people have been in this game for 25 years and you have no idea what it's like out there. People are making so much money they're gonna quit their jobs. It's nuts. It's nuts. And they know nothing. Nothing. I have not seen it like this since I went 5 bid for 500,000 shares of Citigroup and I got hit in 1990. This is a different kind of market. And the public is a sheep. They're asleep and they should be ashamed or fleeced. It's shameful. He ought to read the white paper. At least I read the darn thing. Now hold on. I know you're passionate and I hear you. But at the same time, a lot of people are saying that yes, there are certain places where Bitcoin may not yet be available. The Association of Broadcasters. Against all of them. Me, I am not letting up on this issue. Until Bitcoin is used everywhere and no one can stop talking about it ever. And the people get the money they want. And I'll do it better than Billy did in The Predator. I'll be more like Arnold. Dutch Finnel. The a la carte packages are really cheap. What we have first is a la carte number 1. You subscribe to the World Crypto Network. You get one premium channel.
You did. My Bitcoins did, not you.
What we have here at the World Crypto Network is one channel. One. You subscribe, you get 1 channel's worth of information and content. This deal is pro-consumer. It will save people money. Now, a la carte number 2. You get the World Crypto Network, which is like getting XM and Sirius, which is like Major League Baseball and Howard Stern and the NFL. And Howard Stern's all I really care about. And you get the Bitcoin Group and the Bitcoin News Show. You effectively save $11. FCC, you should know what you're talking about. You should know what you're blocking. And then there's this idea that satellite TV and satellite radio are similar. Since Dish and EchoStar tried to merge and they were blocked, then you should block this too. Let's go back to the tape. And let's watch these 2 companies beat each other to the pulp. But really, the World Crypto Network means lower prices to subscribers, more choice, and better service. Those are the facts. Let them hear the facts. You've heard the objections. They can't stand up to the facts. Congress, Justice, FCC, they can't stand up to the facts. Let this deal go through and stop messing with the World Crypto Network.
When was that? When was that video that Mad did?
That was March the 2nd, 2017. So that's 5 years ago.
Good advice. Good advice. Cramer should listen to it.
Based in your face.
Based in your face.
That was way before I became a millionaire. So even I should have taken this advice back then and bought more, man.
That's funny. I think there are people in the comments that were like, this is a really good new show. You should do this all the time. Like I enjoyed this financial advice that you gave in this 30 seconds or whatever. People, they love the gurus.
I don't remember this episode. I mean, I watched like most, if not all of them, but this one I missed.
I was the same.
Now, there are some people in the comments, look, people are getting it. This guy says, I had to log into Coinbase and buy whatever I could just to tip you. Can't praise you enough, fellow Bitcoiner. This guy says, oh my God, this is the best mad Bitcoins of all time. This is what we need to bring out the talent. All-time highs.
It was right after the episode where he said you should buy curio cards for $1, I think.
Too late to buy curio cards, man. They were a good deal back then. But I think we're running out of time. We're going to go on to predictions or story of the week. Martin Wishmayer, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
We've just been busy really for the Bitcoin 2023. We'll be showcasing 3 different models of ATMs, including one that's just running our software, but we haven't manufactured. So if you want to get into like Bitcoin ATMs, just like scoop up all those secondhand ATMs you can get, just replace them with a little transplant and make them run on our software. You'll be in business at a budget. So hope to see you all on Bitcoin 2023, because within a month time, it will be like fantastic event in Miami, man. Miami, I mean, South Beach.
I don't like to predict things, and I know people are saying this is going to be a down or a smaller conference. It's not going to have Dead Mouse or Dead Mao or any of these large names. But Martin is correct here. You watch the way Bitcoin's going up, the way Bitcoin goes. Everyone will be partying at some kind of crazy new all-time high, and it'll be a smaller conference, and maybe it'll be even nicer.
It's definitely a smaller conference compared to last year. I mean, last year was like massive. There was also one day which was more like a music festival. But you know, you have 1,000 Bitcoiners and you have 1,000 different music tastes. So that's like not one size fits all. What they did this year is they do have the industry day. So if you really want to get some business done, it's good to be on there on the industry day. But there's no like music festival behind it, but they did organize a party. Tickets are like separate. And if you like want to like fancy out, you know, you can get a table for you and your friends. Otherwise, you just get a ticket and just have fun. So if you're there for the party, there's definitely a party. And usually every night there's like parties, rooftop bars, crazy parties. But, you know, I'm too old to party like that. You know, it's like I found that after walking on this trade show for an entire day, I'm usually tired or my agenda is full, having like business meetings and stuff. So yeah, so do not, if you want to meet up or if you want to like contact or you want to meet up, just send me a message in advance so I can plan it in the agenda so that that I'm not disappointing anyone. But it would be really cool to see you all there. And yes, just pack your Hawaii shirt because it's going to be really hot down there.
Last Bitcoin conference we went to, Martin and I were hanging out backstage and we saw Andrew Yang and Tucker Carlson.
Yes, he just got fired. Finally, that despicable human being is thrown.
What? How can you say that? He's the best guy ever.
No, man, it's like he's like Putin. We need to get a new PR guy now.
He's the best.
Team Tucker.
The only reason to watch Fox News.
Tucker Carlson.
The only anti-war guy in the world on mainstream media at the moment.
He's worked for all the networks, even he was on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Like when I think of morals and like standard of beliefs, that's what I think of. But
yeah, well, no, he's gone. I'm so happy he's gone. I never watched him, but now he's gone. He's gone. I was like, oh yeah. And he looked even worse in real life than he looks on TV. I mean, like, you know, what a despicable human being this person is. Like,
how is he despicable? He's awesome.
How much hate?
This guy is
filled with hate.
I haven't watched any of it, but he's despicable.
Having not watched any of the show.
We're gonna have to.
He's been on there for like decades. I mean, really, he was like the face of Fox. I mean, he's been there for so long that it was like a reason to not watch the channel.
No, it was the only reason to watch the channel. In fact, now that he's gone, I've blocked Fox News off of my YouTube because Fox is fucked.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll care.
I blocked all mainstream media.
Story of the week.
Yeah, that's
pandemic.
Ready there?
Yeah, but Josh, you're blocking all the mainstream media was also the reason that you only found out COVID was over a half a year later. because you didn't follow any mainstream media. So nobody told you like COVID's like history. And you were
I
still
found
going,
out COVID was over in 2020 because it never fucking started.
Yeah.
What's going on? It's got all
Shout.
I'm
political.
the only one not wearing a mask in my supermarket for years.
Yeah, I'm restraining myself and rising above the fray, not falling into the argument. Dan Eve, prediction, story of the week. No more politics.
I'm gonna say something crazy, like that this week or within the next month, we will find out that Jim Cramer was right about something. Boom.
Mind blown. Josh Gala, prediction or story of the week, hopefully not having to do with politics. You're still muted though. You're in the penalty box.
Oh yeah. We actually, it's a story about Vaultoro. That's VAULT, Vaultoro. We launched our savings plan. So it's the ultimate DCAing plan for Bitcoiners and precious metals. So you can set up a dollar cost average system into Bitcoin, into Ethereum, into gold, or into silver, and there's different menus. So you can go like a spread of gold, silver, Bitcoin, or just gold and silver if you're more risk adverse, or just crypto. So it's really, really cool. Super simple to set up. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. And you can do it with euros as well now. So you can convert fiat.
Would I have to make like a scheduled transfer every week or every month to the Vaultoro IBAN, and then it will automatically convert it?
Exactly.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You just set up a little automation and boom, boom, boom. Every, whatever DCA it. It's the ultimate way of buying Bitcoin. Everyone else that buys it in one go are either pissed off because it went down the next week and they're like, oh, damn it. Or it goes up and they're like, yeah, I should have bought more. So by just like every month or every payday, putting, 5%, 1%, 10%, whatever you can afford to lose, or can afford not to, have right now, is you should be buying Bitcoin or something, some sort of asset that's out of the banking system. Just get your money out of the banking system. Guys, it's so close to collapse. Like the whole thing is ready. The dominoes are like, if people don't see the signs with Silicon Valley Bank, with Signature, with this other one going down, yeah, it's just one after the other. Whether it happens now or in a couple of years' time is not the point. The point is the banking system is corrupt fundamentally. You need to just save outside of it at least. And so that's why we've built this tool, and I think it's really nice.
Well, very cool, and people can check that out at vaultoro.com. Ben Ark, the sky's always falling, but it never does. Prediction or story of the week?
Yeah, I really like that, Josh. Is there a way, if I did like a DCA when it's done in front of Vaultoro, could I say that when it gets to, I don't know, $1,000 or something, is there a way of automating like out to another on-chain address? Just so I could have like a hardware wallet, and then I could use Vaultoro to convert fiat to Bitcoin, and then go from just Bitcoin on-chain to my hardware wallet on-chain address.
That's a really cool idea. Yeah, automatic out as well. I'll bring it up with the team. We'll get it implemented.
That'd be super sweet. I'd like that. I'd use that totally.
Totally would be up for using that as well. And if you could like give the Vaultoro your XPub, like the public addresses from your hardware wallet, then they could like send it to a different address every time. And then you don't even have to log in. You just have to send money to Vaultoro. Just send the money and it will automatically.
Yeah, and then your risk profile is like it's like $1,000 or $500 or whatever you want it to be.
I would be like, shut up and take my money, and we'll just keep sending all the fiat to the bank account number, and then watch the sats flow in. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah.
I haven't really got a story of the week. Everyone's just working really hard. We're just building things. No real story of the week. Just building shit. But yeah, I love that Vaultoro. It's cool.
I'll have to check that app on my phone, see if I can get Snoop Dogg to say something about Nostr for you.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah. So show some Nostr stuff.
Ben, I think Nostr is really great.
We've had an uptick in the shop. So we've got shop.lmbits.com where we sell like hardware gizmos, and because I own nostr.com, I feel like I'm allowed to put a little link to our shop on nostr.com. So we've had a massive uptick in the shop, and it's for the Nostr signing devices. So it's the hardware signing device where you can have your private key on the signing device as opposed to actually stored in your local storage on your browser. So that's kind of cool. But I mean, that was over the last couple of weeks. So it's not really this week, but
it's that hardware signing device. I can vouch for that. It's a really cool device. I ordered 2 of them, and the reason, like, you don't want to use your private key or any app. You just want to use, like, this plugin, and then use your hardware device to enter the key. And why I wanted to use them, because if you use Nostr for like a company, or you use it for like a group of people that will manage the social media presence of, like, company, for example, then you don't want to give out this private key. You want to put the private key in the hardware device, and then just make sure that the hardware device, focus, what the fuck, but you want to use the hardware device, and then everybody in the office can just grab the hardware device, post on Nostr without actually knowing this private key. So should you ever have to fire anyone, then you can still be sure that they won't take the Nostr. That is the reason I bought 2 of them, and I think it works very well in that way, and it's easy to set up. Shipping is fast from the LMBit shop, and just if you don't own one of those devices, then you're not really serious about Nostr, in my opinion.
Nice, thanks, man.
I do think it's definitely going to be a problem, people copying and pasting their private key in. And if your private key is ever exposed, you lose your Twitter account essentially forever. So yeah, I do think they need Ben's little device. But we're running out of time. Just a reminder for everyone to check out madbitcoins.com or the World Crypto Network, and check out the Mad Bitcoins 10th anniversary special. I went back and watched some of the old episodes. As Dan was saying, it's neat to see the intro and the outro to the show form, and kind of the formatlessness of the early show, and the true madness and wackiness, and then how it became kind of more a formatted news show. But you can check that out at madbitcoins.com. And thanks to everybody for joining us today, giving us a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Until next time, bye.
Bye.